What's up, vlog? Mike here. Today we're gonna give you a little bit of insight into how I plan my week ahead. For me, it usually starts on the weekend where I sit down and just kind of get everything together to make my plans for the week. And so I'm gonna kind of show you a little bit of those steps and what that's about. Alright, so the first thing I do every week is just kind of get an evaluation of where our goals are, whether it's monthly sales goals, monthly service goals, or my own quarterly goals, both in sales and service and for like what I plan to get done for the quarter, right? A lot of that sometimes can be humbling. It's accountability. It's you know, seeing where you're at, maybe where you've fallen short, seeing where you've excelled, but just kind of getting a weekly check into where you are. That way you can kind of see what's necessary to make the right moves to hit those goals. For us, right now, we're very sales driven. It's kind of been what's a little bit of a traditionally, historically slow January and February for us. So we're trying to do some things to stimulate some sales. We have seen some good results in there. They're starting to kind of boost back up. So it's important to kind of audit where you are as many times as possible so you can make the necessary changes. You don't want to let something get too out of control too fast, right? So having that at least weekly, at the very least, check in on your goals is super important to making sure that we reach them. So I use three big tools to keep myself organized. They're kind of tools and influencers in how I plan out my week and schedule. One is my Google Calendar. That's where all my meetings are, time off requests for certain employees. That's where Colin's schedule is, so I know if I need to get a hold of him, I can see kind of where he's at. So it's definitely like a huge part of my day. Even shooting this vlog, I usually put it on my calendar. Email. It's like I get a constant flood of emails. I try to answer them at designated times during the day so I don't become a slave to email, but a lot of times those are my call to action things that I keep in my inbox until they're resolved and archived. And then those usually make their way to the third thing, which is ClickUp. ClickUp is a program that we use to kind of keep organized. There's channels for our drivers, for our service team, our team member manual is on there, and then I have my own C.O.E, Chief of Everything page, where it has all the tasks I need to do, both big and small, to kind of just keep myself organized. So those are my big three things that I do. So usually when I'm planning out my week, those are the three things that I'm sourcing to try to put together to see what my week's going to go, what I'm going to try to accomplish and tackle for the week ahead, some things that I know I'm probably not going to get to but just stay on my radar, and just kind of set it up that way. So I start every morning with a couple things. One is a cup of tea. I kind of, in 2019, have switched to tea over coffee just because I was starting to get a little jittery. So just usually a nice cup of decaf tea, a daily crossword, a daily devotional, social media. I got to go through all my time hop, my Instagram, my Facebook, all that kind of stuff. And then I take daily French lessons just to kind of brush up on my français. So those are the things I do for myself. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I actually run over at Sweetwater Wetlands Park. And Tuesdays and Thursdays are usually my mornings that I set aside to read. Whether sometimes I read for leisure, sometimes I read motivational books, leadership books, and stuff like that. But it's always good to get that kind of leisure and motivation to get through your week with some personal love. So motivating your team is one of the key aspects of everything you try to do in leadership and management, and sometimes it's very tricky. I think a lot of times you got to find new ways to motivate them, and I think that starts with having one-on-one conversations with each member, and we did that actually just yesterday. I met with Brad. He felt like the service numbers were dipping a little bit, and so it's just how do you stay on top of that? So Brad and I met privately and just kind of hashed out some things, and then we started pulling. Brad did every team member in one-on-one and just said, look, hey, what motivates you? Because some people it's money, man. They're trying to make their bills. Some people are just like, man, I just really like to have a cookout with the team or something. I'll go play paintball, right? And usually it's a pretty humble ask. You find oftentimes, as a manager or leader, you think that they want so much money, or they want so much time off, or they want whatever. And usually it's a really humble ask. So I think having those one-to-one meetings with your team members is super important to know what their goals are and what motivates them. So what ended up coming out of that is we actually ended up setting some service goals for the month of March. We went back and looked at 2017, 18, and just saw what kind of some of our billable hours numbers were, what some of our revenue numbers were, and we made a stretch goal and told them, you know, I won't go into the specifics of what those goals are because they're personal for some of them, but we told them, hey, if you meet them, we'll give you a little bonus in your check, and then we'll like do this bigger team event, and that came from them, you know. So it's just like what's going to motivate them so that they're actually driven on a daily basis to keep that goal in their mind, or that reward in their mind, so that they stay hungry to meet their goals. So definitely checking in with your team to feel out what motivates them is super important. So my advice for other business owners to get ahead in your week is to not fear Monday. I think a lot of times we dread Mondays. We had a nice weekend, right? We come in, it's like, oh, you got that lull, right? Don't dread Monday. Use Monday as like your springboard. Go ahead and get as ahead as possible. That way it sets up the rest of your week to kind of relax, or maybe things unforeseen come up. For me specifically, I can schedule out my week all I want to, but the truth is the team needs, customer needs. I can't tell you how many weird scenarios come up during a week that kind of just completely derail me from what I think I'm gonna get done. So having that day, like starting off a week strong on a Monday, say, where you can get as much stuff done, just go. That way it buys more time for you later on to have those things come up. I think it's super important to make sure that you stay on task, to stay accountable to your goals, and then just have a good plan for the week ahead. All right, so that's kind of a little insight into how I get planned and how I schedule my days and weeks. I think it's super important to keep organization at the foremost of everything you do. Give yourself some time for leisure, some self-care, some things that you're interested in to kind of keep your soul happy, and then give yourself that organization and planning to hold yourself accountable to what you actually want to get done. That way you don't fall behind on your goals and everything that you need to accomplish, both for yourself and for your team. Get everything out on paper, on a calendar, and hold yourself accountable. But like I said, also give yourself those self-loves, those things that you like to do to keep you hungry and keep your soul happy. So I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next time, vlog. See you later.